And the second game, I'm going to talk about two games today. Briefly want to mention Streets of Rage 4 has completely ruined all other beat-em-ups. Because I've been playing River City Girls this week. I've been trying to finish it. Because when Streets of Rage 4 came out, I had about 30% of the story done. And I had definitely enjoyed what I'd played so far. I think I spoke about it maybe about a month or just over a month ago on the podcast briefly. So I'm up to 75% of the game done now. I'm nearly finished. And the game is excellent. It's a really nice sort of reimagining of River City Ransom. I love the world that it's set in. I love the story. I love how... I mean, the story is ridiculous, but it's fun, it's interesting. Really good voice acting, even though it is a bit over the top. Fantastic sort of cutscenes. Like, River City Girls has the sort of story design that I wish Streets of Rage 4 had. Instead of these sort of, like the comic book sort of single scenes and then text at the bottom, this feels much more developed in terms of story. But the gameplay is nowhere near as good and nowhere near as tight as Streets of Rage 4. And it can be very annoying at times. Mostly, I think the biggest issue I've had so far with it is context-sensitive actions. So lots of different attacks are tied to the three, actually you have two attack buttons and then a special attack. And, for example, if an enemy's on the ground, you've got the strong attack, you can stomp on them. But if you're even slightly incorrectly positioned, so you're not quite over them, but you're next to them, then you do a strong attack, and that takes a couple of seconds. And then by the time the attack animation's over, the enemy's up and attacked you. And just, there's something about getting that stomp move right that just never seems to work. And it's incredibly frustrating. Because you might stomp on them once, twice, you go for a third time, she attacks, the enemy stands up and just knocks you over. And it's just that those little things that I never had that experience in Streets of Rage 4. Everything was so tight mechanically. And in this, it's really not. If you stood next to a weapon, the same button that is attack is pick up the weapon. So when you want to attack, if the weapon's anywhere near you, you'll pick up the weapon and you'll get hit.
I've heard there's a problem with doors like that as well.
And it's just, I think they could have been a bit more liberal with how many buttons they used in this game. They have, there is 8 buttons if you're L, R, Z, R, A, B, Y, X, and so on. And it's led to moments like that where I've died or where I've died basically because the game hasn't done the action that I wanted it to do, basically. Because of something like sometimes the weapon, you just can't pick up weapons. You stand over it, press the button, nothing happens. She just attacks. And the graphical style is much simpler than Streets of Rage 4. But there's quite a lot of slowdown in this game, which I hadn't noticed before. I think it's after playing Streets of Rage and how smooth it was. When there's like 5 or 6 enemies on the screen, this game chugs pretty badly. And it's more surprising given the fact that the art style is very simple. And the top and the bottom of the screen have huge black borders on them, so it's not even a full screen game. And yeah, I was taken aback by that when I first experienced it. I was like, wow, I can't believe that this game's struggling. But, I've enjoyed playing through this game. It is a good game. You can upgrade your character, there are lots and lots of moves you can buy to upgrade, and it gives you a little bit more sort of versatility in how you approach the enemies. The only thing I don't really like about the enemies, like the design of them is really nice, and they have like different attacks, very similar to Streets of Rage 4, but they take far too long to kill. I'm on level 20 now with my character, and the enemies are still taking like 15, 20 hits before they die. And it's just too much. Like, let's say you've got a baseball bat. Now, in Streets of Rage 4, you hit the enemy with a weapon twice. Stronger enemies obviously will take more hits, but the bog standard, like, drone enemies, hit them twice, they're dead. In this, all the enemies have a huge health bar. So you stand, hit them, they go down, stand up, down, stand up, down. It's like that 6 or 7 times before they actually die. And okay, that's fine to have stronger enemies, but on every single new screen, there is 4 enemies, and they all have way too much, and it just becomes dull. Eventually, you're just moving from screen to screen, and you have a choice of either just running through that screen to the next one, or spending 4 or 5 minutes just repeatedly attacking the same enemies and waiting for them to finally die. And while I was really hot on this game when it first came out, I really enjoyed what I'd played. But now after having played Streets of Rage 4, I'm kind of like, well, it's good, but Streets of Rage 4 really basically did almost everything better. So it's been a little bit of a I don't know how to say, like an eye-opening experience. I think Streets of Rage 4, N Europe, I gave it a 10. Sam and Anil, who reviewed the game on N Europe, gave it a 10, and it really is a 10 because it is a perfect beat-em-up game. Whereas this is very good, but the problems that I maybe wouldn't have noticed as much before have really been highlighted by playing Streets of Rage 4. So it's a shame. But I'm going to go on and finish this week, definitely. I've enjoyed my time with it, and I will probably go through it again on hard mode, because it is fun, despite the niggles. And, yeah, excellent tribute to River City Ransom that sort of brings it into this. I think they've done a good job with an old franchise. They've reimagined it, and it works in the same way that Streets of Rage 4 sort of brought the series into this century. I think they've done that with this as well. It's just not quite as good as Streets of Rage 4. So, yeah, good game, but not perfect.
I think a lot of those niggles I found in Mother Russia Bleeds as well. The enemies, you can just be pounding the enemies because you can punch very fast, and you can just be punching for a minute before they drop.
Yeah. I was going to say, like I had mentioned earlier, obviously, that I didn't pick Mother Russia Bleeds up on sale, and part of that was because I knew it wouldn't be able to stack up against Streets of Rage 4, so didn't really see the point. And I completely back you up on Ollie Ollie as well. It's a really good game. I had played it on the Wii U and 3DS, but I did notice when I was playing it on the Switch, like you're obviously pulling off the tricks with like the rotations of the sticks and stuff. I found that more difficult on the Switch version.
Wow, really?
Using the Joy-Cons. Yeah, I think so.
The Joy-Cons, yeah.
You know the way you have to do like specific tricks, and some of them are difficult enough. Yeah, definitely found that more difficult on the Switch version, unfortunately, but still well worth getting.
See, we're bringing up the points of the Joy-Con failing, but on Lonely Mountains as well, downhill, the Joy-Con just doesn't stack up.
See, that terrifies me as well, because I've only got Joy-Con, really. Although, I suppose, like, I do have one of those wee 8-bit adapters, so I could use a Wii U Pro Controller if necessary.
Yeah, you'd be fine with that. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.